does this work?
Where is she?
Church.
Okay.
Thank you. Nope, I don't want that one. Regular commission meeting, 7:00 PM, Tuesday, October 15, 2024. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance, sorry, behind you, to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Good evening, Commissioner Jacobs.
Here.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem.
Here.
Hodgkins.
Here.
Vice Mayor Morset.
Here.
Mayor Mohammed.
Here. Okay. Are there any deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? Nope. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Is there, want to move David up?
That doesn't require, it's already on the agenda.
Okay.
You just,
No, just because he has so far to drive.
but no deletions?
No deletions.
Okay.
Is your microphone on, Vice Mayor?
Yes, his light is on.
Okay.
Okay.
Lights on, nobody home.
All right. All right, so then we're gonna move on with the agenda as is. All right, presentations proclamation, that's number 4.1, grants for safe schools, which was done. Public comments, we have 2 members from the public who wish to speak. The first one is Robert Janzer.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Robert Janzer.
Check, is the light on?
How about now? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm very passionate about this agenda item, so I had to decided to make some notes to greatly condense the version to try and stay on point because I could go off on it and stay under the time constraint. I'd like to speak on an agenda item, but before I give you a little personal background information first to explain my feeling. I happen to love this town. I have a very strong sentimental and emotional attachment to this town. I was born and raised here even before it officially became Pembroke Park in 1959. My children were born and raised here. Both my parents passed away on our property. My father was a sergeant on the original Pembroke Park Police Department. He worked the evening shift after he got home from his day job as an engineering supervisor in the jet engine test cell department with Eastern Airlines in Miami. He had to use our own personal family car to patrol the town and paid for all his own equipment. One evening while on patrol and in pursuit of a suspect, our car got shot up. That car became my first vehicle when I was legally able to drive. I left the bullet holes in it to remember what happened. That said, now I will address my concerns. The current ongoing situations in this town disgust me. It seems you cannot watch the news lately without Jeff Weintz here doing a report on Pembroke Park. Is he reporting on positive items like the town receiving grants, improving infrastructure, drainage, etc., lowering the millage rate? No. We get to watch Jeff Weintz here report on the latest alleged ongoing misdeeds of Jeffrey Jacobs and his drama of the week. The latest drama allegedly stems from Commissioner Jacobs calling BSO and FDLE, claiming he was afraid for his safety because he thought Mayor Mohammed was carrying a firearm.
Decorum.
Mayor wound up getting searched in a town meeting that was televised for the public to watch. After the humiliating search of her person and purse, no such weapon was found, and witnesses interviewed stated they had no such knowledge of the mayor carrying a firearm during a meeting.
Mr. Janzer, I'm going to interrupt you.
Mayor Mohammed is an intelligent single mother with a young son and a family. Do any of you believe that she would deliberately do anything to risk losing that? Subsequently, thereafter, the state's attorney allegedly charged Commissioner Jacobs with 1 count of false report of a crime, which they later dismissed. Now you're being asked to pay for legal fees for Commissioner Jacobs. I sincerely hope you, as commissioners, will get outside council specific to this issue before consider paying any monies in this matter and wouldn't do so unless absolutely mandated by law. Also, allegedly, Mr. Jacobs was never elected to serve on this commission. Not one person in his town voted for him. He got in by default because no one else decided to run in that district. And it is therefore, in my opinion, that Jeffrey Jacobs should not be sitting on this commission or any other board in this town for that matter, and should resign immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Janzer. David Roach.
David Roachdale Village. My question is to the commission and why we are not getting monthly reports from all our different departments, because I know the citizens, myself in particular, would like to know how things are going. And I used to enjoy listening to each one of the departments state what's going on, how they did during the previous month, and that kind of keeps us up to date on what's going on in the town, since there's not a lot of citizens come to these meetings. That's my question.
Okay, who wants to address the question?
Interim town manager should,
I'm gonna let you answer the question.
Yeah, I can answer that. Typically, we were having department reports on the workshop agenda. You can't workshop monthly reports because they're not action items. And so that took a lot of our time up on the action items that were coming forth with the next commission meeting. So we thought to streamline that process was to deliver those monthly reports directly to the commission. They can review them before going into the commission workshop that following week. And if there are questions from one of those departments, then certainly that department would come forth during the workshop to answer any questions about the monthly report. So we were just streamlining how we do our workshops now. Typically workshops are only for action items for the agenda. You can't workshop a monthly report. There's nothing in a monthly report that you can workshop. You can't workshop the fire department going out for 500 calls. You can't workshop the police department going out for 50 different calls within the community. Those are not workshop items. They are informational items. So I agree with you there. So, to ensure that the public still has access to those reports, they're public records. You certainly can make a request for those. And we're looking at putting a portal on our website per department where you can see that report on a monthly basis for everyone.
It was interesting to actually hear from the different departments.
Oh, I
And
understand.
how things are going and everything else. And so,
Right. But just, to assure you that, we've been very transparent with that. We want to ensure that that portal is on our website on a weekly basis. So you can, not a weekly basis, but that report will go to each
Monthly,
department on a portal around the middle of the month, the week before going into the workshop. So you can see that actual report itself. A question in that monthly report, that department would come forward in the workshop for the commission to answer those questions. So
very good.
you're welcome.
Point of privilege.
Yes.
Town Attorney, could you read the decorum statement as published on the final page of the agenda?
For the record, Mayor Commission, we actually have two provisions that speak to decorum. We have our provision on the agenda, which I'm happy to read at the Commissioner's request. There also is a provision in the Town Code in Section 2-45 of the Code, which speaks to decorum. All comments must be addressed to the commission as a body and not to individual members. Any person making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who become boisterous while addressing the commission shall be barred from further audience before the commission by the presiding officer unless permission to continue or again address the commission is granted by a majority vote of the commission members present. No clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks shall be permitted. No signs or placards shall be allowed in the commission chambers. Please mute and turn off your cell phones or pagers at the start of the meeting. Failure to do so may result in being barred from the meeting. Persons exiting the chamber shall do so quietly. And just for the record, Mayor and Commission, Section 2-45 of the Code, Sub 11, states that members of the Town Commission, staff members, citizens, and others are required to use civil and appropriate language when addressing the Commission or anyone present at the meeting, must refrain from using profanity, cursing, or exhibiting aggressive or threatening behavior. No personal verbal attacks toward any individual, either by the Commission, staff, citizens, or others, shall be allowed during any meeting of the City Commission. Any persons making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who become boisterous or who otherwise violate the town's code of conduct shall, after 2 warnings, be barred from further audience by the Commission by the mayor or by request of any member of the Commission, unless permission to continue or again address the Commission be granted by a majority vote of the Commission members present. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So is there an issue? Because Mr. Janzer did come up to speak regarding item 121.
No, I do have an issue with Mr. Jander's statement. Maybe I'll have to deal with it at a later time. Civil remedies through the court process, so.
Okay. With that being said, we're going to go ahead to item 7, consent agenda. Is there a motion to change consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kasham,
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morset,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10.3, Town Manager Recruitment Update.
Ask why we're jumping through the agenda again and not going line by line through the items in order.
Because you had a request from the candidate to get on the road to go back to Bonita Springs.
Okay.
Hello, Commission. Kristen Biazar with Gearing Group. I did provide an update via email and individually to you guys before the meeting. Really, if there's any questions, I'm happy to address it, but basically the background check is still pending. With the social media request, it takes up to 2 weeks to add the option into our profile. From there, I can initiate. So until that's completed, the background check would still be pending at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. You know, Kristen, while you're up there, I'm going to go ahead and go to 10.2 if there are no questions.
When are we going to vote on the position?
That would be up to,
I think that's
The
after the
commission.
background check is completed.
We can terminate the contract if there is anything that comes up. I don't think there's any valid reason for delaying it anymore.
Well, the process has always been
Before
that
you're hiring, you're supposed to get the background first.
There's a lot of things that they say this is how it was done in Pembroke Park. Doesn't mean it's correct. I believe we should go forward with the contract instead of continuing kicking the can down the road since it's been, what are we, over a year? Where it started August last year. We're now at 14 months on trying to get a town manager in here. We have a contract in place. I make a motion to approve the contract for Mr. David Lynch.
I second.
There's no contract on the agenda, so what is the cost? What are the terms? I haven't seen
We
that.
have a copy of it here.
You've been given a copy of it, every commissioner has.
If I may also just offer, just as a matter of procedure, Mayor Commission, the item on the agenda, as we know, is an update from your HR consultant, which she's provided and is happy to answer any questions. The commission's also been provided a copy of a proposed agreement, which is based on your former town manager's contract with a number of revisions requested by Mr. Lynch, who is in the audience this evening. I'm sure he'd be happy to speak to his issues and requests as well. Just as a procedural matter, I would offer that under the Broward County Charter, to the extent that any action or any agenda was amended within 48 hours of the meeting, there is a mechanism to take action on recently added items. Among the procedural are hard copies of that agreement available on the podium. They are available to the public, anybody who would like to inspect them, which is required by the Broward County Charter. So if any member of the public would like a copy of the contract, it is available this evening. To the extent that the commission wanted to act on that item, it would be within your purview to take that action.
And with that, for all the commissioners, is included in the packet provided along with references, verification of education, the employment file from Newton Falls, the most recent employer, to my knowledge, and a couple emails regarding a relocation to be considered, and I think an email that was sent today regarding a contract being executed for moving opportunities.
How much are we paying for moving? Because we never paid moving.
That
in
would
the
be up
past.
to that'd be a term for you guys to approve, should you want to do that. I know that the candidate is looking to waive the medical in hopes to have a relocation or moving costs associated in their contract, or included in their contract.
If it's cost neutral, I can't see any problem.
I don't either, and I think we should move this forwards. I'm with Commissioner Jacobs on this, that we're kicking things down the road for months and months and months. It's crazy.
Mayor has made a career kicking cans down the road and things not being done. So,
Well, let's not get personal.
a
Let's just
quorum issue
move
again?
on.
so
Is that a decorum issue again, if that's the case, if
Fine.
I'm kicking things down the road?
right.
The last time I checked, and I did send another email to both the attorney as well as to Christian regarding the process that was supposed to occur and the fact that the process did not occur, that was stated on the dais. So for me, this is all new, so to speak, because of the fact that when we left over the summer, we had directed the HR to review the resumes
Call the roll.
and re-rank them. Excuse me, you don't have the floor right now, so I'd appreciate if you would stop interrupting. You don't have that authority. So as I was stating before, for the record, we directed our HR company to do a background, to review the resumes to make sure that, number one, they met the job description, which did not occur, which is one of the issues that I had been having a conversation with both the acting city manager as well as the city attorney, because of the fact that I think there was definitely a violation of our contract when the HR company did not actually comply with the job description and giving us candidates that met with that. So when you guys voted on this without, again, additional backup for the public to be even aware of it, there were numerous violations that occurred. But again, I'm also trying to figure out how we can get our money back from Renee Norlock for this. And then also for the fact that this is a very vital position and it requires the public trust, and the fact that things are being pushed through underhandedly that's not being transparent to the public and also to the commissioners on this dais. So
Town
that's
Attorney.
what I'm gonna sit here and stay for the record.
Parliamentary procedure, I got a motion, secondary. I called the roll.
And I would, before you vote, there's a couple things I want to be clear on for the record. You know, the contract that is in your backup does include a number of business terms that deviate from the town's former agreement with its manager. I just want to make sure that the commission is aware and in agreement to the extent that it moves forward with the contract in the backup this evening. There's a salary that's included in there, which is commensurate with what was previously directed. There is a start date of October 21st. As Ms. Biazar indicated, Mr. Lynch is looking to waive any medical coverage for his engagement. In lieu of that coverage, he's asking for relocation expenses not to exceed $8,000. Included within the definition of relocation expenses, Mr. Lynch is actually looking for the ability to include furnishings for an apartment to the extent that he's looking for a place in the area. I just want to make sure that it would be beyond moving expenses. It may be a broader definition of relocation expenses. Wanted to make sure the commission was aware of that. There's also a provision that would waive Mr. Lynch a vehicle provided by the town, and he'd be provided with a $500 stipend, which is provided for in the agreement as amended and in your backup this evening. And again, copies are also available for the public as required by the Broward County Charter.
Is that $250 stipend still alive and well, or are we still doing that we used to have for the car allowance?
That I would do. It's a $500 stipend. It's a $500 stipend.
Well, we eliminated the stipend for the employees, for
Yeah.
the department heads. However, but your city manager, I guess because it's a contract, I guess you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
What, you said 8,000 for the moving expenses, and then how much for the furnishings?
No, it would be 8,000 total. It would be 8,000 for relocation expenses, but Mr. Lynch is asking for a very broad definition of relocation expenses to not only include a mover necessarily, but also to include some limited furnishings that may be necessary for his relocation. Again, Mr. Lynch is here this evening. If there's any questions of the commission, I'm sure he'd be happy to speak on his own behalf as well.
And Mr. Lynch is waiving his medical.
So he doesn't want medical from the town?
That's correct.
Okay.
Which is advantage for us because it's more than $8,000.
Does the furniture, that's included in the $8,000?
Yeah.
It would be included with it. It's not to exceed $8,000.
And the contracts that you have in those folders actually has it in track changes, so you can easily identify the terms that have changed.
And again, those changes are changes from the agreement that the town had with J.C. Jimenez. We used that document as a predicate, knowing that it was something the commission had been previously familiar with.
What was JC's ending salary?
That I don't know the answer to.
The ending salary in your HR system is 156. However, Mr. Horowitz did have a draft contract that stated 170, but it was never formally
I don't believe
executed.
that was ever approved.
Yeah.
No, that was the contract that he was trying to negotiate.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
The ending salary was 156.
That's correct.
And even after the new budget, he was still going to be 156. Okay. Well, as I stated before, this is my first time looking at the contract because I know you guys were in the process of negotiating and it was no need for me to review back and forth
Understood.
of the negotiating terms. So I'm not familiar with this. So go ahead and call the roll.
And I just have one other question, if I may. I know that Ms. Biazar had indicated that the town is still waiting for a response to the background screening. Just wanted to make sure, I know the vice mayor had asked about that and other commissioners as well. With regards to the results of that process, again, I know that Kristen's waiting for it. We haven't seen anything that's been provided thus far. Whatever comes back in that review will be provided to the commission. Just wanted to make sure that we were all collectively aware on the record of the status of that process.
Everything was done except for the, I believe you had told me everything was done except for the public. Is that correct?
The social media or online
Social
search
media.
that we wanted to execute, it is tentative just because the company needs some time to set up the profile now that we've added that to our services. So no, I haven't been able to initiate it because we're still pending the option in the online system to do so. Anything else that has come up has been shared. So it would just be the direction of how you guys would like to move forward. And also, as the town attorney said, Mr. Lynch is here. Should you have any questions, or should he have any questions, if you guys wanted to address that today as well?
All right, thank you.
Of course. I am also going to just state for the record that I did not interview any of the candidates for the city manager's position because of the fact that the candidates that were recommended did not meet the job requirement of having 10 years experience as a city manager. So I will put that on the record, which was why I was under the assumption or belief that the direction that was given over the summer was to re-rank the managers.
I also agree with Mayor.
So the three that have done it, there's a motion on the floor. I'm assuming that the motion is contingent upon the background check. I don't know what the motion was exactly, so.
I'd like some clarity. Is that the case? And again, what would constitute an unfavorable background check? I mean, I want to make sure that your HR consultant has some clarity from the commission as far as
Motion was to approve the contract.
that's the motion. That was the second, and that would be the
I
action.
have seconded it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Then call the roll. So it doesn't matter what the background check comes back as, correct?
No, then we can take the, we can terminate Mr. Lynch.
But there's a
It will
severance
be in the
pay that.
contract.
You're an
in the-
attorney, you haven't reviewed the contract?
It's been.
I didn't review the contract because of the fact that there was negotiations going back and forth. And it's not my job, it's the city attorney's job to do that.
We all.
So I was waiting for the final contract. to-
Everybody.
And as I stated before, I was waiting for the final contract to come through. But I also didn't interview the candidates because they didn't meet the job requirements either.
that's not entirely
I
true.
actually disagree with that statement as well.
Well, have you guys read the actual job description where it says 10 years experience as a city manager, ICMA certified?
Call the roll.
Who set those standards?
Well, that was done by your previous HR, and that was approved by the commission. There's actually I'm sorry, I'm talking. So that was stated by your HR manual, that was stated by your HR company, that was voted on and adopted by the commission, the job descriptions. I mean, if that's the case, you'd be sitting here hiring people who don't meet job descriptions for anything, and you could just hire whoever you wanted.
That's how the town's always done things.
That is not how the town
And
has
I've heard
always
that for
done.
years around.
Ms. Mayor, I believe that the experience that people have adds to their qualifications. So if somebody was a town manager for 8 years and not 10, I would think the additional experience that they have would add to that and make up that shortcoming, or whatever you want to call it.
But if
So
you actually
I think we're just picking things apart and dragging things out again, and let's just move on, please.
Roll call.
Motion made by Commissioner Jacobs, seconded by Vice Mayor Morset. Acting Clerk Commissioner Kishan.
No.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morset.
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
No.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Christian, you have another item on the agenda. That's why I wanted to keep you up there.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We have 10.2, service recognition, bridging human resources consultant.
Yes, so I was given the direction to create a policy that would be able to bridge service for returning employees. This is provided in your agenda and basically is up for your discussion and determination on if you would like to move forward or no longer move forward with this direction.
I had a question about that right from the beginning when it's kind of like we want to bring old employees back. This town was a mess, and you want to bring old people back again? You want to make it a mess again? I don't understand the concept. I think that we need new blood, people with new ideas, and we don't need to drag on looking for people who've been here 20 years ago or whatever.
That's a fair concern, but with this policy specifically, it's not approving or not allowing for returning employees. That is already something that is allowed as long as they left in good standing. This would just be saying that if hiring a return employee, that you would be willing to bridge their service. And that would be for their benefits, their pensions, so on and so forth.
Who brought this forward?
I brought this
Specials
forward.
from
This
there.
is something that they do when people go out and they have kids and then they come back after 2 or 3 years.
What's the cost implications of this?
So it would be dependent on the employee that is coming back. It would take into account the what they had in their, well, not what was paid out in their banks, but like their level of service. So if they had 10 years, they would come back in earning the vacation that corresponds with their level of service in that way. That's the main thing, and then their pension would be reinstated as if they never left.
Mayor, who particularly are you trying to bring back to put this in place for?
This is just a policy that should be in our HR manual.
Is there a certain individual you're trying to put this in place for?
I am trying to put the policies in place of HR, which is one of the things that you see me bringing forth every few months is a different HR policy so that we can have a complete and comprehensive HR package.
HR, is this a normal thing in every single town that you've known of, that this would be in their policy?
I could not answer that honestly. I could say some have it, some don't.
Honestly. No,
Some
we won't.
private companies have it. I'm not going to, be dishonest. So it is a possibility. Some allow it for caps. So like, for example, if you left, but you weren't gone more than the amount of time you served. So if you were here for 5 years, you came back within 5 years of when you left, then it would be able to bridge. Some have a cap of if you were gone less than 3 years, less than 5 years. So there's different variations of how this policy can be written. So this is just standard, but it's dependent on employers.
Do you
on
see
whether
an
or not.
advantage to this at all?
I could not recommend one way or the other. There is a financial implication.
Yeah,
Bringing
that's-
someone back, especially if they were to resign or something of that nature, because they'd be paid out what they've earned. But I can't say that it would be negative or positive as a action that you would take.
So if an employee was terminated from the town of Pembroke Park, bringing him back, this would fix and correct that.
If an employee was terminated from the town of Pembroke Park, the understanding would be that they did not leave in good terms, dependent on what that termination reason was.
This is one of the very few times I will agree with Commissioner Hodgkins on what he stated about this. I think this is a very bad idea for the town of Pembroke Park. because we got rid of a lot of bad apples that have been in this place for a very long time. Fresh blood is what is needed to clean this place up.
Understood.
Shouldn't we workshop this?
It was workshop.
Was workshopped.
It was on there last 3 weeks ago.
The direction to create the policy was given at the workshop, and this was drafted since and put on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea. Off the cuff.
Okay.
Never go back to a Dodge.
Listen, I mean, it worked for my mom when she had me and my brother. It's something that you do for a lot of people who leave to have children and come back to the workforce after a while. But hey, that's okay.
There's positives to it as well. But that being said, if this was something you were looking to do, you could always change the verbiage to clearly state what it is you intend. So whether it's to put a cap on it, we're trying to half the amount of benefits that they had for their vacation. That you can really play around with this to get it to what you want it to say. But also, if decided not to move forward, that's fine too. But I'm willing to take whatever direction you'd like me to do to amend as well.
I like this to be done case by case by the commission.
Okay, so then I guess you need to draft something saying on a case-by-case basis to put in a manual?
Intent, and would you like this revised? Do you want a policy that contemplates bridging on a case-by-case basis? Or you want to, I mean, again, there's no motion to approve. So I just want to make sure that at least your HR consultant and I are clear on the commission's intent.
This is a very bad policy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, let's vote on it.
Okay, so is there a motion to do it on a case-by-case basis then?
No, I think we should have a motion to just can this idea.
If there's no motion, no action, the item will die on its own accord.
I make a motion to can the idea. It's a bad idea.
You don't need that.
Yeah,
Just let it fall.
if there's no action, no motion to approve, the policy will not be adopted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay. So we are going to go back to number 9.1, LED sign amendment.
May I, Mayor? Thank you. For the record, item 9.1 is ordinance 24008, an ordinance to the town of Pembroke Park, Florida, amending chapter 21 of the town's code of ordinances entitled Signs and Advertising, amending article 2 entitled Signs by amending division 1 entitled Comprehensive Regulations and Requirements, amending section 2117 entitled Definitions, section 2119 entitled Prohibited Signs, providing an exception to the prohibition of LED lighting, amending section 2120 entitled Permanent Signs to allow LED lighting on windows and doors on properties engaging in non-residential uses, providing for codification, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. On the record for your consideration, Mayor and Commission, this is a public hearing.
Is there anyone, well, go ahead, Michael, and then I'll open a public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Mike Vonder, Meulen with Keith. This is a second reading of ordinance. There's been no changes between first and second reading. This item was approved on first reading. It was also recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board in May 30th.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Come on down. State your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Ermet Silverio. I own Leaders Barbershop here in the 4520 Plaza, Holland W Boulevard. I've been here maybe about 2 years ago on the same topic. And so I just wanted to know if there were going to be some new changes to it, and also what sort of LED lighting is going to be considered. Is it going to be limited to particular types? I wanted to put a scrolling LED screen or sign or whatever it could be. So just wanted to understand what's going to be happening, and hoping that we'll be able to just have a unlimited sort of allowance on these LED signs and lighting.
Okay, Michael can address those questions.
Yes, to answer your question, actually flashing, animated, and scintillated signage is not permitted. This particular ordinance is just to outline the windows and doors with a static single color of lights, just so that the places, especially as the evenings start coming sooner and sooner, to make sure that the businesses appear like they're open.
So would it be considered to be able to at least allow like I said, a scrolling LED sign where at least you can have some marketing and just some simple messages out to the public to engage more attention?
I think that's something we can look into.
Sir, I'll tell you, we have 80-foot televisions around in Pembroke Park that seem to be a non-issue. We have rolling billboards that sit out in front of businesses on the back of trucks that seem to be a non-issue, that receive no violations. It's the small business owners that seem to have the problem with code enforcement, violating them on frivolous violations and ridiculous violations. Neon is still banned in the town, which I think is absurd, seeing how we're in South Florida. But this can be amended by this commission. It would be up to the commission to change anything on here. I would hope they do, because this is still extremely restrictive and preventative of small business owners like yourself from drawing attention to your business. It's been pretty much banned to have anything to draw attention to your business, from flag signs, LED lights. It's so outdated. It hasn't been updated since the 50s. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, we
I
praise
agree with
ourselves.
you, and I support you in your cause.
We praise ourselves being business friendly, so I agree with Mr. Jacobs that we should look into it.
And Mayor, Commissioners, at the last meeting, I believe our office received direction from the commission to go ahead and relook at the entire sign ordinance. We have been doing that, and hopefully we'll bring something to you very shortly.
Thank you.
And we'll also include that in there.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you all for your consideration. Have a good night.
Thank you. Any other comments? If
Have
not-
one more.
Okay.
The town of Pembroke Park, its motto is the small town that means big business, which is the most ridiculous motto for the town of Pembroke Park. As a business owner myself, I would never open another business within the confines of the city of Pembroke Park. I feel for the business owners here in the town and what they face with our code enforcement and building department here in the town. Everything is antiquated, outdated. The town is so far behind where it should be, decades behind. Again, this is not the small town that means big business. This is the small town that harass and prevents business.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Well, if there are no more public comments, I'm going to bring it back before the commission. I am going to state for the record that this small town that means big business has been around for a number of years, and we have always had an open door policy of inviting businesses over. During the previous administration, we have had a significant increase in the number of code violations that have occurred in the town. Right now, we are trying to fix that. We are working to bring things forward to try to help businesses, but it would take the commission to change that and everyone on this dais. So I look forward to seeing the changes and recommendations that these commissioners would like to bring forward instead of throwing stones and not helping. With that, I am going to entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-08. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, audience number 2024-008.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Motion made by Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem, seconded by Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins. Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morset?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem?
Yes.
Motion passes.
9.2, Code Text Amendment, Planning Consultant Michael Vonder Meulen.
If I may, just for the record, Mayor, Commission, read the title into the record. The item is an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, amending Chapter 13.5, Land Development of the Town of Pembroke, the Town of Pembroke Park Code of Ordinances by creating Article 8 to be entitled Quasi-Judicial Proceedings, creating Section 13.5-80 through 13.5-83 of the Town of Pembroke Park Code of Ordinances, establishing quasi-judicial procedures for Pembroke Park, providing for the intent, providing for definitions, quasi-judicial matters, providing procedures for quasi-judicial proceedings, including but not limited to ex parte communications, notification, presentation of evidence, and preparation of the order, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. Again, Mayor, it's a public hearing for your consideration.
Okay. Michael?
Good evening. Again, Mayor, Commissioners, Mike Vonder, Meulen with Keith. This ordinance, again, is second reading. It was approved on first reading and also approved by the Planning and Zoning Board on May 30th. There have been no changes between first and second reading. Again, we've implemented a lot of these policies already. This just formally adopts these and put these procedures in the Code of Ordinances.
If I may also offer, Mayor and Commission, just for the record, the Commission has asked over the course of a number of meetings if the, or I should say, the Commission has referenced the fact that our town code is in need of an update. And there are some things that the Commission has asked our office to look at as far as ways to bring the code into a more current vintage. This was one of those items. So when we were working with your planning consultant early on in our tenure, talking about quasi-judicial proceedings, it became glaringly obvious the town didn't have an ordinance which established parameters for your quasi-judicial matters. As Mr. Vonder Meulen indicated, they've been following a general framework of this procedure just to have some guidance as it relates to these public hearings. This will lay the foundation and essentially implement or establish a process for quasi-judicial hearings in the town moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. I open a public hearing. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? No? Okay, I close the public hearing and bring it back before the Commission. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-009.
Is there a second?
I second.
Roll call.
Motion made by Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins, seconded by Vice Mayor Morset. Vice Mayor Morset?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
10.1 moratorium on self-storage facilities.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, this item is on for first reading. This is an ordinance of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, amending Chapter 13.5 entitled Land Development, amending Article 4 entitled Land Use Requirement Implementation by creating Section 13.5-43 to be entitled Zoning in Progress, establishing an administrative and legislative procedure whereby the town may place a temporary hold on the issuance of development permits and approvals, providing for applicability, providing for zoning in progress procedures, providing for town commission review, codification, providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. And again, Mayor and Commission, as we discussed at the workshop, when the Commission had asked for a moratorium on self-storage units, the first thing that Mr. Vonder Meulen and I did was look to the code as far as what procedures were in place to implement a moratorium, which is also referred to as zoning in progress under Florida law. There are no procedures currently in our code that speak to that issue. I know over the years the town has implemented moratoria. Certain types of moratoria are authorized by state law. Medical marijuana dispensaries, for instance, the town is authorized to prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries under the statute. There are a number of other uses that we can regulate statutorily, but we don't currently have a process for a zoning in progress provision in the town. This will establish that process, and when you see this item on second reading, it will be accompanied by a either administrative order or resolution imposing the moratorium on self-storage units as the Commission has requested. So it's more of a procedural step to get to the conclusion, but thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Nope. Then I bring it back before the Commission.
This again is over a year ago. There's a moratorium that I had brought to the Commission to prevent any more marijuana dispensaries from coming into the town of Pembroke Park. So Pembroke Park doesn't come with 20, 30 dispensaries in it as soon as the next election comes about, and this is legalized recreationally. This Commission shot that moratorium down, said no, partially because I was the one who brought it forward. This is another moratorium preventing, again, businesses from continuing in the town of Pembroke Park. This is a storage facility. These storage facilities bring in a great deal of revenue for the town. This is again preventing one type of business from doing business in the town of Pembroke Park. We are predominantly 50% industrial, quarter commercial, quarter residential. You're now telling one type of business they can't continue putting these in the town when these actually are pretty profitable for the town.
May I offer just one clarification point, Commissioner?
Yes.
This item does not impose a moratorium on self-storage units. This doesn't affect any particular business. This item lays a framework for the establishment of a moratorium in the future. It is a tool in the town's toolbox, but as it's drafted, it does not affect any current or future business in the town, but it will be a tool that the town commission and your planning staff can use moving forward in the event the town wanted to regulate certain types of businesses in the future. As I mentioned, when you see this on second reading, there will be either administrative order or a resolution which will impose a moratorium pursuant to the ordinance. But when we were looking, consistent with the commission's direction, to establish a moratorium on self-storage units, there was no procedure, no process in your code. The provision you're referring to, Commissioner, regarding medical marijuana dispensaries
Yes.
are separately distinguished under state law.
Yes,
State law allows municipalities to ban medical marijuana dispensaries. Generally speaking, property owners have rights. The town can't prevent somebody from developing a permitted land use or permitted use within a location that has approved zoning and approved land use. You can't take away the rights of property owners. There's a certain statute provision under state law called the Burt J. Harris Act, which tells local government when you take action to infringe upon a private property owner's rights, that private property owner has recourse, has a cause of action against the town. There's a mechanism under state law where you can impose moratoria. They cannot be indefinite. You can't indefinitely prohibit a self-storage unit in Pembroke Park. But you could regulate the locations where those facilities can be operated under a general zoning regulation. A moratorium will give you the opportunity to work with your professional staff to study particular uses, to examine whether or not a particular use is appropriate in a particular zoning district or a particular designated land use classification. The moratorium puts a pause, or the timeout essentially, on the acceptance and processing of new development applications. So when you see this on second reading, there will be a moratorium, a zoning in progress resolution or order which will address the self-storage units.
So
This is the framework, but this
mechanism.
this is the tool to get you there.
I understood it when I read it.
This is the tool to get you there, but this doesn't affect any current or future business in the town.
Town attorney, maybe it shouldn't have had self-storage facilities picked out as a general.
Yeah, and I think the reason
Couldn't
for
just
that.
say any
Yeah.
business.
The reason for that, Commissioner, is this was the origin of this item was the mayor had recently placed an item on the agenda seeking a moratorium on self-storage units. When Mr. Vonder, Meulen, and I were looking through your code to find the town's procedure for that type of limitation, we noticed there was none. So this was another instance where the town's code seemed to be lacking in a certain context, and we wanted to put forth a framework for a moratorium or a zoning in progress. So if and when the town wanted to implement such a process moving forward, at least there would be a process in the code that provided for it.
Maybe we should revise this then, and so it doesn't mention any particular.
Reading, we work with the clerk to make that change.
Yeah,
Because again, when you see it on second reading, there will be a separate item that provides for a moratorium on self-storage units, which the commission previously directed.
Okay, I just want to say I stand corrected because the way I read this was a moratorium on self-storage.
Yeah, it is a general.
But I understand it's the mechanism as
Correct.
the process, which I do believe we need in the town as a mechanism for it because we do not have it. But I stand against.
And as I said, this is a tool in the toolbox. It is not something the town ever needs to use, but to the extent that you wanted to consider such a zoning in progress or limitation in the future, this will give you the procedure to get you where you want to be.
So hypothetically, if there's somebody who wants to start a very polluting industry in Pembroke Park, we will have a tool to prevent that, to protect, say, food processing in our town that would be affected by a heavy polluter. Tools.
Yes, but there are limitations, not indefinitely and not arbitrarily. If the town wanted to restrict a particular use, you would provide direction to your professional staff, who would need to conduct a business analysis. There needs to be a study done to support the town commission's decision when you restrict private property owners' rights. In other words, if a private property owner can currently today build an industrial complex in the town, and the town wanted to limit the rights of that property owner in the future with regards to certain types of uses, before you can impose those limitations, the town needs to go through a process, some kind of study, analysis to support the conclusion, because there needs to be a rational, reasonable basis to affect a private property owner's rights. Can't be arbitrary. There needs to be an articulated reason why the town is reaching certain conclusions when you're affecting uses in a land use context.
Thank you.
So we'll change the wording.
We'll work with the clerk to adjust the wording on for second reading.
So is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-010 is written.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion made by Commissioner Jacobs, seconded by Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins. Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kasham?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morissette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mayor Commission, I would like to say that as much as I agree with Commissioner Jacobs, I also disagree. We are an industrial district. We have significant warehouse locations within our town, but we have very little other, amenities like housing. And if I had to choose between a new storage facility and affordable housing, I'd choose the affordable housing every single time. And so, that's why we're working, with some developers now to bring forward some affordable housing to Pembroke Park, because it doesn't exist. So if it was my choice, I'd choose affordable housing. We got enough storage in this town right now. That's just my 2 cents. As far as medical marijuana, if you drive the 2 miles from 95 to State Road 7, and I did this probably about 3 weeks ago, you have at least 6 or 7 vape shops that have popped up. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I would like to do some review of that particular industry, because you have 6 of them right now within, less than 200 feet of each other up and down Hallandale. And as one business possibly closes, and we don't like to see businesses close, that is a potential for another vape shop to take its place. So you have about 6 right now, and that's a significant amount of vape shops within 2 miles. And your town consists of about 2 miles from 95 to State Road 7. So it's something we have to take a look at moving forward. I'm not saying it's a moratorium that we need to explore, but there you have a significant amount of vape shops in this town, and that's probably something that you need to turn your attention to moving forward as we continue to have these storefronts become vacant in the future.
Chandler, a year ago, I brought this to the commission, informing them as soon as this becomes recreational, it's a free-for-all. And that's what the purpose of the moratorium was, to prevent, because as soon as medical marijuana is no longer medical and it's recreational, these facilities that you speak of become a free-for-all for dispensaries. And we have nothing in place at this time to stop that. A year ago, I had that brought forward to prevent this from happening, as we had 2 businesses already in the town within the 2 square miles that we are. There was no need for any more within the small amount of town. Like liquor stores, they don't add to the community value of putting these type of facilities within the 2 square mile confines of the town of Pembroke Park.
Again, it's probably something that we need to take a look at if we get the direction from the commission, something we need to review and bring back to the commission
To your
for
other note
conversation.
about affordable housing, Trinity Broadcast Network that owns the Trinity Lakes, it's now called something else, the the community over there. During my time as mayor, they evicted all the senior citizens, giving them 30 days notice and having no place to live. It was a complete catastrophe trying to deal with that. We were able to handle it and work with the residents to help them find places to live. Meanwhile, the property owner, the religious organization, was going to build 800 affordable housing units in that area. That was their proposal of after the eviction of everyone that was there. When it came down to it, it started off with 800 affordable housing units. Then it came down to 200. Then I believe it came down to 150. I don't know what it came down to after that because I was no longer part of it at that time. But 800 affordable housing units were supposed to go into that area, and then it turned into warehouses once again, with 150 I think was the minimum it got down to in that area over there. So we tried to prevent it, and it just kept continuing. Now I don't know if there's a project still in the midst there because they were trying to fill in the lake and put warehouses in. So I'm not sure where we left off, but if you can speak to that, if you have any information, I would like that presented to the commission. We can do it at a later time if you don't have it now.
Are you speaking on the Trinity?
Yes.
Well, that project was canceled. Well, the developer decided not to move forward, and they weren't going to. It wasn't warehouses. It was actually homes, townhouses. But it would be a significant impact on our drainage system here in Pembroke Park to take about 6 football fields of length of a lake away from the town. Essentially, it would flood your town.
And do we have a new floodplain manager for the town?
Well, I mean, we use our independent contractors for that. You know, we have Craig A. Smith, and we also have Keefe and Associates. They give us a lot of advice on those issues when they arise. So we kind of lean on them for that information currently. Our flood plan, as you know, was approved by the state back in June, and it didn't change much because we didn't meet the deadline to make any revisions to the actual plan that we have now.
I'm aware.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay. 11.1, Commercial Amnesty Program.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, this is Resolution 2024-014, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, providing for the amnesty program guidelines for the commercial property owners who perform work without permits to facilitate bringing property into compliance through January 31st, 2026. Providing for conflicts, severability, and providing for an effective date. We talked about this item at the workshop, Mayor and Commission, as you know. This is essentially expanding the residential amnesty program to include commercial property owners. Same terms and conditions for the existing program. It would just add those additional, commercial owners to the same program.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Commissioner, before you vote, the allotted amount was, I think, $1,750 previously, and the funds were coming from the ARPA. We do have, a reserve in the ARPA for this particular program. I'd like to see it go from $1,750 to $3,500. We can afford it at this time. So if it's going to be considered tonight, I would like to move that the amount go from $1,750 to $3,500 for our businesses for the amnesty program.
Is that 3,500 in total
Yes.
for the entire program?
Well, per applicant.
What's the cap on it? What's the cap?
For per applicant, it would be $3,500 for applicant. Right now it's $1,750.
1,000 applicants can apply, and we're paying out 3,500 per applicant?
Well,
Is there a cap on
the last time you did the amnesty program, I think you had 15 participants total.
But now you're making commercial properties and putting commercial properties here that the mayor brought forward, and 3,500 per business. We have approximately 300 plus businesses here in the town.
I mean, there are other prerequisites that go along with that before they, get approved. So there's a stringent process. But
So then my point is, how much money is available in the ARPA funds that we are allotting specifically to this? What are we capping it at?
the last I checked, it was about $89,000 we have right now. And it is a first come, first serve basis. It won't, continue for 2 or 3 years. So it is a first come, served basis. And when those funds are exasperated, the program ends.
When do the ARPA funds expire?
We have until December 2026 to ensure we expend all of our funds for ARPA. You have to be committed by December 2024, but we have to expend all by 2025.
Okay, so if we lock down these $85,000, gives us 24 and a half businesses. Is that 24 and a half? 25 and a half businesses. All right, you lock down those funds, that's all those funds could be used for. So if we only have 2 businesses apply for that.
What do you mean you're out?
You can reallocate the
You
money.
can reallocate the money.
But didn't you just say we had to buy?
Again, you have till December 2025 to expend all of your dollars in ARPA. So if we don't expend all the money,
how long are we going to do this program for?
Excuse me?
How long is this program for?
I think it's for a year.
Yeah, I think it expires February of 2026. Excuse me, January 31st. Yeah, January 1st, 2026.
Correct.
Before we delved into those ARPA funds, weren't we using the ARPA funds to do the bathrooms here?
We have several projects. You have the parking lot. We have some renovations inside Town Hall. We have the 3rd floor.
So you've already subtracted that out? And,
Yes,
And that's why
yes,
you're saying this
yes.
85 is extra? I mean, it's what's
It's
still there.
it's included. Yes, sir.
All right.
In my personal opinion, I believe we have better uses for $85,000 in the town of Pembroke Park than to put it for a program of the group of individuals who usually do not need the ARPA funds or the financial assistance.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's at the pleasure of the commission.
Commercial property owners, I've been to some of them, and during the violation period, I went and looked at them. The business, they're just doing very bad work. They're having their handymen and stuff do plumbing and stuff and like that, and it's ridiculous. And so if they have to pay, then they should just go pay to get it fixed the right
Again,
way.
It's at the pleasure of the commission that we move it from 1,750 to 3,500.
You have a lot of small businesses that can't afford to pay, and that's why we were doing the program to allow them the opportunity to get caught up in code and to help offset those costs so that they can continue to thrive because they are small businesses. The city has majority small businesses of the 600 businesses that the city does have.
Did you put a cap on how much that business is making annually to make sure that they can't afford it to fix it?
We can do
Is
that.
there any kind of study like that done? Or?
I mean, we could possibly put that in as a prerequisite to do that study per business. Again, this is something that was previously done in the town. So we were just trying to build a little bit more, be a little bit more business friendly with our community. We know there's some
Yeah, sure.
challenges.
No, I
so we
understand.
thought this would be, since the commission brought it forward, the administration went back and said we want to be just a little bit more business friendly and try to build a better partnership with our businesses. We know some of them are under code violations and they struggle with that. And so we want to show some good faith and some goodwill by, increasing the amount. But certainly there are some prerequisites that will go into every applicant that applies for this program.
Chandler, I just want to correct you on this. We have not had a program like this. This program, the previous program was for residential.
For residential,
That was
sorry.
what I
Yeah.
put together for the amount of code enforcement violations because the town of Pembroke Park went many years enforcement action in the mobile home communities, thanks to a previous commissioner up here. Unfortunately, that was to detriment of the residents of Pembroke Park. So the amnesty program was put together for that situation because things did not work properly here in the town of Pembroke Park as they should for several years. This program, again, I think is completely unnecessary for the business, for the commercial side of it. And I think it should, we should not do this for the commercial side.
Okay. Again, we were just, taking our directive from the commission. If this goes forward, that we will be, good stewards of our businesses and build a stronger partnership. So.
So I'm going to put on the
I'd like to
record.
postpone. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I am going to put on the record that the town has run amnesty programs in the past for residential
properties. You have a lot of small businesses in the town that have code violations for simple things like running a camera that they got from Home Depot to secure their building from being broken in, that have code violations. And so those small little mom and pop places that are like little mechanic shops and things like that have code violations where they're barely making ends meet. And to try to help them to secure and keep their business without them having to pay all these exorbitant fees and administrative costs that really don't go anywhere other than into the city's coffers. So the reason that I asked to put this program together was because of the fact that we do have the residential properties that are available to take advantage of the program, but we don't have anything for those small businesses that are getting hit with things like painting a driveway that they don't have money for. So that was one of the reasons why I did this, for the small businesses, not for the major companies and corporations that can afford to pay for this, but for small mom and pop shops that have little bodegas and mechanics and things like that, so that we can help them and say that we are trying to help, say that we are the small town that means big business and that we are willing to work with you. As far as the mobile homes that were getting violated for things like screens and windows and things like that, the town may have or may have not caught code violations when people were doing repairs. But we're trying to make sure that we get everybody up to par so that we can beautify and help our town without hitting these small businesses in the pocket. So that was the reason why we brought this forward. Or that was the reason why I suggested bringing this forward.
So we could actually, with that said, we could actually put a income orientated application. So, you know, a business that's making, say, under $50,000 a year could maybe use the program. Somebody who's making $10 million a year doesn't need to use it.
Yeah, that's what I said originally when I made the suggestion, was it's not for Coca-Cola. It's
That's right.
not for Fortune 500 companies. It's for your little tiny
Big
storefront.
But that
companies
needs,
have the
stores.
money.
that
Yeah.
needs to be implemented in the
It's not in it.
in there, you know.
Yeah.
It's really to make a line in the sand and say from now on everybody does it by the book, but it's like a chance to catch up, and then after the period, then everybody go do it by the book.
The town would actually be better off investing that $85,000 into training of our code enforcement to make sure they know what they're doing when they're out there violating people frivolously
We should
and
give
repeatedly.
should give the direction to find out the study like yearly how much they are making. So based on that, we can take the decision on this.
Okay.
No, you can just put a caveat in the past the commercial amnesty with a caveat of that it applies to small businesses, not to big businesses.
Yeah, I would just want to make sure we properly defined small business, but I don't have a problem with that, Mayor.
I would say business less than 10 employees.
That's a definition. I don't have a problem with that.
Can we approve this motion and then adjust it?
Well, we would amend the policy consistent with your direction. So if the intent, if there was consensus to limit the program to those businesses with 10 or fewer employees, we would make that change. The policy could be approved as amended.
Does that
Something
sound
like that, something
sufficient?
like
10 or less? That would
10 or less,
That could be a good idea, 10 or less.
and maybe do you want to put a financial thing on it too, like
No, 10 or less. I
gross
mean,
profits or anything like
You
that?
spend so much money on doing studies that.
But you could have a 10 person company that's making $1 million a year. I mean,
Then they're probably not looking for an amnesty.
well, you'd be surprised.
That's true. Okay. So is there a motion to adopt resolution 2024-14 with an amendment not to, for the businesses to be eligible not to exceed 10 employees?
Yes,
Does that sound about
That's good. Yep.
stated?
that sounds good.
Okay, so is there
That's a motion by the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I make a motion for that. 2024-014 with those adjustments.
As amended, yep.
I'll second.
Roll call.
As amended.
Commissioner, motion made by
Vice Mayor Morset, seconded by Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins. Commissioner Jacobs?
No.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kisham?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morset?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 12.1, discussion and possible action regarding a finding of entitlement and the payment of Commissioner Jacobs' attorney's fees.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, just very briefly, and I know we discussed this item at the recent commission workshop as well. As we know, the criminal charges against Commissioner Jacobs recently filed were dismissed by the state attorney's office. Mr. Jacobs, through his legal counsel, has submitted a request for the payment of his attorney's fees. Under Florida law, a city is generally obligated to furnish or pay attorney's fees to defend public officials in both civil and criminal proceedings. A city is only obligated, however, if the underlying conduct arises out of the performance of the official's duties and the official is serving a public purpose. The case law in Florida is consistent with those criteria going back quite a number of years. It's up to the commission to determine entitlement under the Florida common law. The items before you this evening for your consideration of Commissioner Jacobs' request.
I believe that we have a insurance attorney that has looked at this.
I know you and I had a conversation with our insurance defense counsel. That's correct.
Mr. Stark, I believe.
Stearns, Chris Stearns.
Stearns, okay. And I kind of don't see why that if anyone on this commission gets up and goes out in the parking lot and does something that requires the police to come or whatever, that's not on the town. The town didn't do it. We shouldn't be responsible for it. That's somebody's individual action. They should either, regardless of whether the case was dropped or whatever the reason was that it was dropped or whatever, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It still happened. It just, the case was dropped. So whatever that reason was. And the town didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't tell him to go out there and do it. And so why should we have to pay? It doesn't make sense. So
It was not a
wasn't no official act.
service, a public act.
That is the key criteria, whether the underlying conduct arises out of the performance of the official's duties and whether the official was serving a public purpose. Those are the two criteria under Florida law.
If you want to vote on it, I vote no. I make a motion.
I second.
Before we go, I received a letter. It was saying Mr. Jacobs trying to sue the town.
So
So based on this, if we don't approve, it's like any affected in our town?
no, so it's that I believe what you're it's a
I don't know what this letter is, and it needs put in as public record, whatever this.
yeah that'd be a separate issue, and I believe Commissioner I've received a copy of the letter you're referring to. I believe most of the commission may have received it as well. Commissioner, was from your legal counsel, from Mr. Pizzi. Under state law, Chapter 768-28, if a individual or organization or entity is looking to sue a public corporation, a public municipality, they're required to provide notice. That notice is a claim notice of an intent to sue. The letter that you're referring to is notice of Commissioner Jacobs through his lawyer's intent to sue the town for a host of reasons. Again, they were not all articulated in that letter, so we don't know what the basis for that lawsuit would look like. But that's a procedural step, which would be a precursor to a lawsuit that the commissioner, I believe, intends to file against the town. That's separate and apart from the entitlement to attorney's fees. That'd be a separate legal issue. However, I would offer that, and again, Commissioner Jacobs can certainly speak for himself. I would imagine that if the commission were to not find an entitlement with regards to the payment of his fees, that may result in another lawsuit for the town. Not one that can't be defended, certainly, but it may result in another legal action that we would need to address.
So the motion that you made was what exactly?
I believe it was the motion to deny.
To deny.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Roll call. And I'm going to state again for the record that I will not be participating in this.
You'll file the Form 8B, the voting conflict disclosure?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'll be
The
following.
mayor's abstaining from vote.
Okay.
I will be too, and I'll file the form with you.
The motion was already made, so we're going to
You have a motion and a second.
Roll call.
Motion made by Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins, seconded by Vice Mayor Morset. Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Morset?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed is abstaining. Commissioner Jacobs is abstaining. Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor.
With that, we are going to go, oh, sorry, let me move up. Attorney's reports.
Just very quickly, Mayor and Commission, the Commission recently, I believe maybe 2 months ago or so, had asked for us to look at dates to provide ethics training. I know that the Florida League of Cities has recently provided some training opportunities. I believe some of you might have satisfied your requirements through the league. Just wanted to offer a reminder as we approach the halfway point in October that there is a requirement that the Commission receive 4 hours of ethics training during the current calendar year. If any member of the Commission needs training, we'd be happy to work with the Clerk's office to provide a session or two here as we've done in the past. I just wanted to make sure that that was on your radar, and we're happy to coordinate with you individually or collectively. But that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Town Manager's report.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor Commission. Several items. We've wrapped up our janitorial services RFP. We've completed our debris removal RFP. So we'll be bringing those recommendations for those two awardees to you at the next workshop. As well, we'll be looking to hopefully probably mid-November sometime, Southwest 25th Street bid will go out. I know that's a project that we've been working on for quite some time here in the town. So we're looking forward to the county coming back and giving us the final approval to go out for bid for that major reconstruction on Southwest 25th Street. We also are working on drafting our audit RFP. It's time that we put that out as well for a new auditor for the coming year. We look to have that out probably in the next week, 2 weeks or so. And it'll be out on the street for 21 days, maybe 30 days at most.
If I may, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, with regards to the auditor process, there's a specific process under state law. Have we formed an audit committee? Have we gone through those steps?
No, we'll be.
But before we issue the RFP?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because the audit committee has a chance
yes.
to see that
Yes, sir.
document before we issue
Right.
it. And one member of our commission needs to chair that committee.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Sorry, missed that step. Yeah, we have to do the audit committee before we release the RFP publicly, and we'll be formulating that over the next several days. And we'll be asking one of you to serve on that committee as well, moving forward. This year you assigned Beta Jones to to provide you a master plan on the preserve park. And probably for the last several months, I've sort of looked at Beta Jones and the services that they provided for that master plan. We got a bill for $61,000 from Beta Jones sometime in, I think, July. And the overall contract was $188,000. I'll be very frank with you. I don't think we're getting the service we intended for Beta Jones. We're hopeful that with our in-house engineer and with our community garden individual who also has a background in mechanical engineering, we could do our own master plan for renovations for Preserve Park. It's not that complicated. I paid the $61,000 to Beta Jones, but I sent some information to the town attorney, and I'm going to come back with it for the workshop that I think you need to cancel this contract because it's not beneficial to the town. So again, we've cleared the first invoice of $61,000. You got very little for that in results, in return on investment. And so from my review and with the staff that we have in-house, with our consultants that we're already paying, I don't think this is a viable contract economically for the town. So you need to seriously consider canceling that contract. As far as, well, let me stop there. Is there Can we get a consensus on that tonight, or do we have to?
Yeah, again, I would like an opportunity just to review the termination provision in the agreement. The manager did send it to me late this afternoon. If there's consensus, we're happy to implement whatever the provision is. I just want to make sure that there is a convenience provision with regards to termination. But if that's the will and direction of the commission, subject to the review of the contract, we can take that direction.
If you felt like we weren't getting our money at that point in time, why did we pay them?
That contract was initiated back in April.
No, I mean, we gave them the money up front?
No, that was an invoice from May until about sometime mid-June, and then the invoice came around July, and then I reached out to them to sort of understand exactly what their services were. I looked at all the documents they provided you previously, and I looked at the invoice, and I just could not ascertain the services that were worth $61,000. Being that the contract was $188,000, that's 50% almost into your contract.
Certainly.
And so with the professional staff that we have on board now, we certainly can manage to do a master plan renovations for Reserve Park without expending $188,000. You probably could have put that money towards some renovations out there, actually, to be frank with you. And it's difficult to say that because we got a lot of partners here in this town. We got a lot of professional services that we contract out. This particular one, I think, is a waste of our dollars. And so we need to, expeditiously, cancel it before we get another invoice for another $61,000.
Yeah, we need to look out for taxpayers' money. I agree with you.
Yeah, I would notify them right away.
So yeah, we'll take that as consensus, but if there's no objection, we'll work with the manager.
Just want to stay that I said before, this master plan was not necessary for the size town we had and the parks that we had. This was completely unnecessary and a waste of $188,000 to begin. Yes, we do have a lot of contractors in this town. We have an excessive amount of contractors, and everyone's got their hand out, knowing that the town of Pembroke Park has been nothing more than a piggy bank for decades for people. It's got to stop.
Okay. As far as any more questions on Beta Jones?
Well, I do want to just
Do we need to vote?
ask the commissioner who.
We'll take that as consensus. I mean, yeah.
I do want to just ask the commissioner who's over the Parks Department, what her direction is, because it is her department.
And before she speaks, I just want to let the commissioner know that what your vision is for that park. We have the personnel to get that done moving forward. So by eliminating Beta Jones, it doesn't leave a gap in planning and plotting for renovations for the park. We have the services in-house that can actually pick up the ball and move forward with it. We have a great idea of what we want to do and how we want to, plan and phase in all our renovations. But just to assure you, we have the staff capable in-house to get this done.
So I will arrange the meeting with you, and then we'll go forward after I have a meeting with you. So how
Okay.
is go?
All right.
Okay. All right, what's your next item?
Is that, well, I just want to make clear, is that direction to terminate the agreement, or Commissioner, you're going to meet with the interim manager first? I just want to make sure we're
Can I
clear.
postpone right now? So I want to talk to them.
Yeah, we could we'll put an item on the next agenda. We could defer it for the workshop.
Okay. Just be aware that another invoice possibly is coming in the meantime.
So
I think legally we should try to, maybe you could contact them, give them a heads up saying we're terminating their services.
Well, prior to,
Reach out again if we need services.
but before this meeting, I did indicate to them that they should, tamper down on what they were providing us, because there needed to be a conversation with the commission about their services. So they're very aware that this conversation was moving forward.
So were they actively doing work, even though they've yet to meet with the rest of
Yeah, that doesn't, yeah.
had no
they didn't
direction?
start anything yet.
No, you have a presentation and you had a very glossy PowerPoint, but they came in millions of dollars over what your budget was for the park. That's what is on record right now.
Was not the agreement with us, like, so they cannot go overcharge for us because we had a budget for that one. And that time we pick up for him because it's the last time and we're gonna lose that money. So that's why we try to catch up something like at that moment. But if something we need to change or we can go forward the different direction, we will definitely do that.
It's at the pleasure of the commission to continue to leave him on contract.
If we're not getting our money's worth, it doesn't make sense.
It's not fiscally responsible to continue on something that was completely
Really?
unnecessary to begin with. It's a waste of money.
We're just being irresponsible.
In the future, if we need any help from outside, we can always reach out.
All right. To Commissioner Consent's concern, would you like to meet with me first before we make this decision?
Yeah, I want to elaborately discussion with you, and if we need to change, and then we can do it.
I think they should be notified that we don't want them to continue doing any more work until
Yeah, can you
until
just-
some decision has been made. If that's what's going to happen. I mean,
So you want them to cease all operations while you and the manager meet?
We have some preliminary discussions with Beta Jones to that effect already.
Okay.
Yes, but I can, firm those conversations up now, post this meeting, and then meet with Commissioner Kashim in the meantime, and I guess bring this back to the workshop.
That's appropriate.
Okay?
Sounds like a
Sounds
deal.
good.
All right. Thank you for that. As far as the town clerk's position, of course, we're advertising for that position. We've got some really great candidates that we are bringing in to interview. We've started that process. All of these candidates are clerk certified. Some have worked in other cities. We had our first interview today. As we filter through those candidates, we will bring one forward for a recommendation for hire. We are not taking this lightly. We know that that's a position that's very important to the town. We need to fill it fairly quickly, but we also want to ensure we get the right individual here for the town of Pembroke Park. But we have some really great candidates. I was very surprised the amount of candidates who are certified city clerks or FCCMA certified that are coming forward to put their name in position to be considered. So rest assured you'll have a new town clerk here fairly shortly, one that's very competent and can replace the one that has vacated the seat, just to make you're assured that that is what we're trying to do here through the HR process. We're still looking for a director of public services. We have one or two candidates that we've interviewed previously for the deputy director's role. The deputy director's role is now filled. Manny is doing a wonderful job. I could not have expected anything less from Mr. Larzabal. He's doing a wonderful job. So is our director of finance. I mean, hands down, these were two great picks for the town. I can assure you that. But with the public service director's position, we'd like to bring back a recommendation for your consideration as well at the workshop. We have to get that position filled. Mr. Larzabal, like myself, is juggling a lot of balls right now in the air, trying to keep everything afloat in public service department. He's doing a great job, but he certainly needs his counterpart to join him. So if it pleases our commission, I'd like to bring back a name at the workshop.
Okay. Anything else? Nope.
I think that's it. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Got you there.
All right, thank you. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Jacobs.
In full transparency for the town of Pembroke Park, on Friday, the 18th at 1 p.m., I have court scheduled with Mayor Ashura Mohammed. On November 14th, 2023, she filed a police report against me and then went down to the Broward County Court and filed an injunction against me in an attempt to have me removed from office. This injunction was at least filed 11 months ago. As I said, the can keeps getting kicked down the road and nothing ever happens. Her and her attorney have continued to drag this out for 11 months now. But court is scheduled for Friday at 1 p.m. if the mayor and her attorney continue. That's all I have.
What does that have to do with the town?
Has a lot to do with the town.
Anything else?
That's it.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kishim?
No.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Yes, I have something. At approximately 6:45 today, Commissioner Jacobs decided that he would, it was his wisdom that he would make threats to me. He threatened me. He threatened that I would die soon. He threatened that I would be homeless and things like that. And I just think that any type of, I hope our police chief is listening, because any threats made to me will be taken very seriously. And any threats made to me or my home will be taken very seriously and have severe repercussions.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I don't have, this shocks me to hear, Hodgkins. I'm sorry to hear that, but I presume you will involve the police in this.
I have no comments at this time.
One question, Attorney. Do we supposed to do that, like in the chamber of here, we're sitting down and each one of commissioner was trading someone, what's the legal advice for it?
Well, a couple observations. You heard at the beginning of the meeting, we read both of the town's decorum policies into the record. Those decorum policies apply not only to your citizens and residents and staff, but also to the commission. Again, I would just behoove each member of the commission to be mindful of the decorum policies and adhere to them, to the extent that they've been adopted both by resolution and by ordinance of the commission. With regards to the issue being raised now, I mean, this is your time for commissioner comments, so it's certainly within the purview of each individual member of the commission to speak to whatever issue you want to speak to under your provision of the comments. But I would just, again, encourage each of you to be mindful of the rules that you have all established for yourselves, as well as for your staff and for your residents who come before you at each of your commission meetings.
Attorney Jacobs, what are the options that this commission has so that the commissioners on this dais will not be victimized and bullied by a commissioner? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I am not comfortable being in this building. I am not comfortable coming in here. I am not comfortable even in my own house. When I come in this building, I am scared because I don't know what to expect anymore. I have been violated. I have been searched on this dais for an imaginary firearm with implications that I am a lawyer, I am an officer of the court, but I supposedly committed a crime by supposedly having an imaginary firearm on my skin-tight dress, on my person, somewhere where I have no idea where I'm supposed to be hiding this thing, nor have I been in possession of a firearm in this building, period. But yet, these type of actions continue to occur. Now here, this is the second time in a year and a half that I've heard statements from Commissioner Hodgkins where, hey, I've driven by your house, I've driven by your house again, and now to hear the threats that are being made to him and his life and his house. What are the options that we have on this dais to keep us from being bullied and to make this a safe work environment for us to thrive and actually do our job, which is to serve the people?
Well, I've been asked, Mayor, as you know, some form of this question multiple dozens of times over the past 18 months, roughly. It's not an easy question to answer. As I've said, countless times, both publicly and privately, you're not accountable to each other. You're accountable to the people that elected you. Now, all that being said, to the extent that any member of the commission feels under threat for their personal safety, as I've advised several of you on various occasions, you've got a very capable and competent police chief and police department. They're your first line of defense with regards to any threats or fears for your personal safety, fears for the safety of your home, your families. That's the person I would encourage you to reach out to as a first line of opportunity. With regards to the Commission's legal authority to address your colleagues in the context of public service, you don't get to decide who's sitting next to you on the dais. The governor of the state of Florida is the only person, the only elected officer in the state of Florida that's empowered to remove members of a city commission. If any member of the commission were charged with a crime, the governor has the ability to suspend you from office. If you're convicted of a crime, the governor can remove you from office. The courts have civil opportunities, which I know, Mayor, you're familiar with and are pursuing in a number of various capacities to address the issues that you're referring to. To the extent that there are town issues, I'm certainly happy to look into them and work with your police chief to, in the event that there are opportunities for you. I'm not sure I've got a different answer this evening than I've given most of you privately and some of you publicly on a variety of occasions. But if it's the will of the commission, I'm happy to continue to do whatever research we can into the issue, and to the extent that there are options that we can offer, I'm happy to try to do that.
Correct me, but isn't it also an ethics violation not to respect your fellow commissioner?
Well, ethics is a difficult issue. The short answer is it's not an ethics violation, but it may be a violation of your code of conduct. The commission has a code of conduct. It was initially a resolution. It was converted to an ordinance. The commission has had a hearing on this issue. You may recall about a year ago or 10 months ago, roughly, where the commission, by resolution, voted to censure one of your colleagues. That resolution, as directed by the commission, my understanding is, was sent to the governor's office. The governor has the authority to take action consistent with that resolution. Again, apparently that hasn't happened yet, but to the extent that the commission wanted to direct that it be resent, that's certainly an option. But it's within the governor's purview to address any member of the commission, not within the purview of your manager or your town attorney.
Town attorney, it's no surprise to anybody here since this commission has been here, their attempt to remove me from office from every single meeting, it continues. But I do believe, and I'm probably wrong with it's Chapter 4, Title 7 of the Florida Constitution actually states how the governor can remove an elected official from office. I might have those numbers backwards, but something to that effect. But it's if you actually take the time to read the Florida Constitution and the rights and powers of the governor, and you break it down in line by line, it's the playbook the town of Pembroke Park has been using to try to remove me from office. You can go down every single item and see every single accusation that's continued to follow. This is continued harassment on behalf of this commission.
And to your credit, Commissioner, you actually cited to the proper provision of the Florida
Thank you.
To the proper provision of the Florida Constitution. I'll read it into the record just so you all have the benefit of what that says. This is Article 4, Section 7. By executive order stating the grounds and filed with the custodian of state records, the governor may suspend from office any state officer not subject to impeachment. That's a state officer. You all are not state officers. Any officer of the militia, any county officer for malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, drunkenness, incompetence, permanent inability to perform the official duties, or commission of a felony, and may fill the office by appointment for a period of suspension. Again, that's county officers and state officers. Doesn't apply to municipal officers. It's actually Chapter 112 of the Florida statutes, which has similar language that extends those opportunities to the governor for municipal officers.
Chapter 112.
112 of the Florida statutes.
All right.
But the premise and the criteria is the same: misfeasance, malfeasance, whole host of all the incompetence, public drunkenness. Again, the list goes on. But it's the governor that has that authority. It's not town attorney. It's not the town manager. It's not the commission. Could be a judge, theoretically, but it would take somebody in a black robe or somebody in Tallahassee to take that action.
Thank you.
So I'm going to again state for the record that the majority of the commissioners on this dais are here to do a job, and that is to serve the community and put the interests of the community first. It's not to be publicly attacked. It's not to be privately attacked. It's not to be stalked. It's not to be followed. It's not to be victimized. It's not to be bullied. We are here to serve our community. Repeatedly on this dais, you have made the accusations that every ordinance that I've passed has been against you or someone you know. When we put together the noise ordinance, you said I was going against Kelsey. When we put together the food truck ordinance, which was to allow other food trucks to come into the city, which you have actually blocked during your administration. When we passed the LED lighting at the very last meeting, you said no because it was going to be used against you for the food truck, not to help promote our businesses and our community and our city. There's been a constant push of bad information out here on this dais by one particular commissioner regarding actions of other people on this dais, and it needs to stop. We need to move forward. We need to help serve our residents and our community and put the needs of our community first. At this point, I really am frustrated because of the fact that it's so hard to get anything done that's for the best interest of this community because of the constant negative attacks that keep occurring here on this dais. But not only here on this dais, but at our events and out in the public. It needs to stop. People are here to do a job. Commissioner Hodgkins is here to serve his community. Commissioner Kashim is here to serve her community. Vice Mayor Morset's here to serve his community. I'm here to serve my community, putting forth the best interest of our businesses, making sure that this town moves forward, that we have a mix of businesses that will benefit our residents. And to be constantly attacked and accused, it's horrible. And then to be stalked on top of it, then to send people to my brother's house in California, which has absolutely nothing to do with the town of Pembroke Park, is absolutely ridiculous. We're here to do a job, serving our community, not sitting here attacking each other or going to people's houses. So I think we need to look at something that will stop that type of behavior. And if that includes another public censorship, then so be it. Because I think that what was said to Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins today was completely out of line. With that, I'm done.
And if I may just add for the record, it's 112.51, which provides for the municipal officers' suspension and removal from office. Just wanted the record to be clear.
I'm going to do the announcements.
A special magistrate hearing Wednesday, October 16th at 9 a.m. You have this workshop commission meeting Wednesday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. We have our fall festival this Friday from 4 to 7. We have our citizenship drive Saturday, October 26th from 10 to 2 here at Town Hall. We have the health fair at the Preserve Park at 3115 Southwest 52nd Avenue, Saturday, November 2nd. We have our Thanksgiving giveaway November 25th, and we have our toy drive December 19th. And I guess we also need to give management direction to plan the next holiday party.
It's on my to-do list, definitely.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Aye. Aye.